A same-sex couple fought to have both of their names on their child's birth certificate. Through a sperm donor, the couple gave birth to a daughter. Tonight, a judge has ruled both mothers will be listed. Good for Utah's Aldo Vasquez has more on how this ruling will impact the law.
The current statute states that the husband of a woman who gives birth is legally presumed to be the parent and allowed to be on the birth certificate. So the Utah Department of Health is kind of in a bind at the moment, as they can't act any more broadly than the way the statute is written.
The judge's decision in this case is in some ways a domino effect of recent changes in legislation across the country. But some Utah laws are still lagging when it comes to these changes, which is why the Utah Department of Health couldn't act any more than what Utah law states.
That's why we felt like we didn't have the authority to issue the birth certificate in this case.
While the Department of Health is bound to this decision by this particular case, it brings into question future cases. With the Supreme Court ruling same-sex marriage legal across the country, should the Department of Health overlook the current state law?
And that's where we're all struggling. So they do their job and say, look, the law is the law. We're not going to issue this birth certificate. The couple comes in and says, but the Supreme Court has tweaked at least part of the law, and we think you should.
In the past, lesbian couples had to go through a step-parent adoption or get a court order for the Department of Health to issue these birth certificates. But the change in times puts pressure on a statute that has gender-specific terms in many different places.
Really what we think needs to happen to provide clarity to the situation is that the legislature's got to go through and where they think is appropriate, update the statutes to reflect the ruling of the Supreme Court.
Because the ruling is still fresh, the legislature will have to struggle with this issue and deal with the laws currently on the books that restrict certain activities between same-sex couples, as same-sex rights will go beyond marriage and include same-sex adoption and same-sex reproductive rights.
Clearly, the Supreme Court ruling will have a big impact on this statute, but until the state legislature can reconvene to address this issue, the Utah Department of Health can only go by what's there. They are ready, however, to comply with the judge's court order and grant this couple their birth certificate. They just hope this ruling will be on a more broader sense than just a case-by-case basis. Reporting in Salt Lake City, I'm Aldo Vasquez. Good for Utah.
All right, Aldo, thank you. Now, officials at the Utah Health Department actually say they hope they'll get some clarity on this case because it is difficult to fully analyze the decision right now because there's no order that has been posted in the case docket. All right.